If you've played the mandolin for any stretch of time, you've probably heard that old adage that a mandolin player spends half their life tuning and the other half playing out of tune. And even though tuning seems like kind of a basic skill, I still see a lot of players of all skill levels getting hung up on simple tuning issues. And you know what the problem is? I think it's this thing right here. These electric tuners are useful, but they're not always accurate. And often if we rely on them too much, it can hold us back from training our ears to recognize bad intonation and to be able to fix it on the fly just by reference. So in this video, we're returning to the basics and we're gonna learn how to tune this instrument by ear. And we're just gonna follow these 7 simple steps. If this is your first time tuning the mandolin, no worries. This is a great place to start to build up some good habits. And the first step is pretty simple. We're just gonna ditch the tuner here. Next, it's really important to make tuning a habit. You know, I think a lot of players just get a little lazy about their tuning, myself included. Especially when you're first getting started out, it can be so daunting trying to tune all 8 strings and make sure they sound the way that they should. But the more you do it, the faster and easier it's gonna get, and you're gonna be training your ears all the while. So try to make a habit of every time you pick up your mandolin, tuning it before you reward yourself with the actual playing. Now without that electric tuner, we're just gonna start slow by tuning 1 string to an outside reference note. Remember, we have G, D, A, and E tuned in pairs, but we're just gonna tune 1 string, that first G string here on top. And funny enough, I'm actually in tune, so try to tune your first G string to match this one here. And to change the pitch, you can turn this first peg here to the left to raise the note, or to the right to lower the note. And you probably just experienced one of the most challenging parts of tuning by ear, which is being able to recognize if your string is too sharp or too flat. Especially if it's close to being in tune, it can be really challenging to hear that slight difference, to know if it's too high or too low. That's where step 4 comes in, which is always tune down first and then back up. So we're gonna start by tuning our string way below where we want it to be. Even if your string was flat to begin with, we're gonna make it even flatter so that you can hear this wide space between your reference note and your string. Then when you start to tune back up, it becomes easier to hear when your string starts to meet that reference note, and then finally when it starts to resonate in tune with that reference. And this tip has a double benefit, because if you do the opposite and start by tuning up first and then down to the pitch that you want, there's a chance that some tension could be trapped behind the nut here, which could be released when you start playing, whacking the string way out of tune again. So always start by tuning down first and then up. Once you've got 1 string tuned to a reference, we're gonna tune the next string in the pair by playing them together like this. And if yours are out of tune like mine are, just remember the previous step. Take that new string, tune it way down, and then back up. You wanna get to that point where they start to cancel each other out. It's almost like you don't wanna hear 2 strings, you just wanna hear 1, like that. So now that we have 1 set of strings in tune, we're gonna use that as a new reference to tune the other sets of strings by using our 7th and 5th frets. Let me show you how this works. So check out the 7th fret on your G string. This is a D note, which is the exact same note as your next set of open strings. Although you can tell my open D is pretty out of tune compared to this reference. So just remember your previous steps. We're gonna tune this first D string down, then back up to meet this reference. And then we're gonna tune the set of D strings together like this. Until they cancel each other out. You can double check your tuning here by playing the 5th fret on your D string now, which is actually the same note as your open G, just 1 octave higher. And when you play them together, they should ring out in tune like this. So you can check the 5th fret, check the 7th fret, and make alterations as you need to. And you guessed it, that pattern carries over to the other strings as well. So now let's play the 7th fret on your D string, which is an A note, the exact same note as your next set of open strings. Although again, I'm a bit out of tune here. The challenge here is when you get to the bottom side of the headstock, the directions are reversed. So to go down, we're gonna tune to the left, and then back up to the right. Then we'll tune this pair together. There we go. Much better. And let's do it one more time now. 7th fret on the A string gives you an E note, which should be the same as your next set of open strings. Of course, I'm out of tune here as well. That's pretty close. Now for the set. And now I'll try the 5th fret. Not bad. Now to test it out, I usually play just like an open G chord. If it's in tune like this, you'll hear all those notes resonating together within the chord really beautifully like that, right? That sounds great. So satisfying. The one caveat to this step is that if your mandolin is not set up properly and your bridge is not in the right place, your notes will be out of tune as you go further up the neck. So you might experience some frustration here. If your mandolin isn't properly set up, then check out this setup video that we have here on the channel as well. But we still have one more step to go, which is actually don't ditch the tuner. I know it sounds like I'm going back on myself, and these are flawed tools. They're not always accurate, and they're not even that helpful. If you're playing in a jam setting or with a band where everyone else is out of tune, you still have to use your ear and tune by reference. But they can be incredibly useful to get one G string in tune and then tune the rest of your strings by reference, just like we did here. So keep that up there too. And if you're just getting started on the mandolin and you found this video helpful, please leave a like and a subscribe or a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love for you to check out the beginner series that we have here on the channel. It's a whole course of lessons that are totally free, designed to take you from the ground up to get you learning tunes and get you ready for your first jam on this instrument. So I hope you enjoy, and in the meantime, happy tuning, if that's a thing.